Now this has to be one of the biggest upgrades for a set of forgiving irons I have ever seen. We are looking at the Cleveland XL irons. Now, when I first looked at this, I was like, by the way, I'm excited to hit this because the claims are huge. Now, when I first saw this, I'm getting like massive deja vu. Does anybody else look at this and go, that's pretty much like a Mizuno JPOX Hot Metal iron? Because when I first saw it, I was like, hello, this looks a lot better than last year's. Now, if we looked at last year's, right, it had the blues on it, it had the blacks on it. It looked cheap, didn't it? Like, if you went like this in it, it was like, nah. It just didn't look great. It didn't have great shelf appeal. And they were around about £319. So definitely a cheaper alternative, but they look cheaper. Now we suspect these are gonna be around a similar price point, but look at this now. Look how much of an upgrade that is. Look at this now. We've got a lovely piece of inlet here where the Cleveland logo is. We've got the XL on this sort of chromed area around the sides. We've got this brushed area across the top. And you know what I'm really intrigued to look at here is how this performed, how it sits down behind the ball. And could this be an alternative to the likes of a JPOX Hot Metal iron that is actually a little bit cheaper, but still very, very forgiving? So come on, you have to agree, don't you? This is a massive upgrade on last year's model. Like, it looks like a totally different iron. Like, it could even be like a totally different line within the brand. It looks that good. Now we're gonna be looking exactly how far these go and what the dispersion is. Because if you're thinking of buying these, you need to know what distances do they go on average? Are they consistent in terms of dispersion? Like, we need a bit of data, don't we? Just to basically quantify and qualify what I'm saying. Now, I'm intrigued to test this because if it is a cheaper alternative, is it worth paying more money for the likes of a Mizuno? And like I say, the reason why I'm comparing it against Mizuno is just because of how it looks and the vibes that I get. Now, okay, let's have a look at this down at the ball. Now, the first thing that is gonna stick out like a sore thumb is the size of this thing. And if there's a negative that I'm gonna pick out on this, it does look a little bit too big. Now I know that's the whole idea of this iron, it's an XL iron, and the idea is that it's meant to be super forgiving. It's just that sort of distance from heel to toe and then top to bottom, it looks a little bit like a shovel. It really does. So in terms of comparing it against the Mizuno in that sense, I feel it looks a little bit bigger and a little bit more clumsy. Now, with that being said, that top line isn't as thick as I thought it was going to be, which is, I think, a really nice thing about this club. And one thing that I love on a set of irons, and you know what, I wish every brand did this, is this. I know I've hit one or two shots just to warm up in this cold weather, but I promise that is a white line. And I wish more brands would do that. But can you see what I'm saying there? The toe to heel, the top to bottom, it just looks a little bit clumpy. All right, okay, before we have a look what other tech this has, let's start hitting some away. Let's see the distances, let's see the dispersion. Come on, let's hit some together. Now, one thing just to take into account today, it is absolutely freezing. So I'm expecting around sort of a 150, 155 mark. That would be sort of a good distance with these. Now, it's important to note these lofts match exactly what Cleveland had in this version of their iron last year. So that has not changed. Here we go. I'm gonna hit 3 away for you here. God, I'm excited to see how this actually performs. Don't thin it, Alex. Let's go for it. That went high. That went high. I didn't even feel that off the face. Now that was really quite an interesting hit really there. Before I show you those numbers, like, I want you to think like, that felt quite, I'm not gonna say forged, I'm not gonna say soft, but I thought it would be a bit more, how can I say this? A bit more clumsy feeling through the hit. That felt very, very nice. So distance-wise, let's give you an indication of where we are with that. 146. It's cold, it's early. Let's give it some time. Let's see if it goes a little further on this next one. Here we go. Now, I'm anticipating there's going to be a lot more spin on this, just purely because, and I'll show you this face in a second. Here we go. That's a beauty of a hit. That feels like it's going high early. That was maybe hair thin. Look at that, all the way back there. 153, see? I told you it would start getting up there. Now, can you see how this ball launches quite high off the face? And I feel like I'm not having to work hard to do that. So if you're a golfer who is wanting something that goes a little bit higher, a little bit easier, then definitely gonna be a good option for you. Okay, let me hit one more away before I talk to you a little bit more about these. So, if anybody actually has a set of those Mizuno JPOX Hot Metal, I've heard they're awesome. So please put your comments down below. What we're talking about here is just a bit of a cheaper alternative, and yeah, I don't know, these are very nice performing so far. I'm gonna go back with what I said though. They do look a little bit clumsy down the ball. Oh my God, look at that fly. This is a great 7-iron shot. This is an absolutely awesome 7-iron shot. Do you see how that just stayed in the air? So don't worry, I'm gonna show you exactly where all these shots have gone, because I wanna show you, but also wanna see where they've got in relation to that flag, because this is bang on a 7-iron yardage. Now, I mentioned like these felt like they were climbing really high and creating a lot of spin. Now, there's a reason for that. Like, interestingly here, listen to this. I'm gonna put it near my mic. It almost sounds like sandpaper, and this is something that Cleveland have done, and they call it hydro zip, in the sense of a little bit more of a rougher surface, more friction, more spin with the golf ball, and then therefore easier to get the ball up in the air. And you know what? I actually quite like the detailing of how that looks. The sort of brushed sort of steel here to this rougher area that sits within the grooved area. I could definitely feel it was spinning more, it was climbing more, but I've got to remember who these irons are for. They're for forgiving club golfers who want a little bit of help. So that's definitely going to be a good positive for you. Now, as well as looks, what are the improvements in tech, and like, what does that mean to you? Because all this jargon is all well and good, but what does it mean for you as a golfer? Right, we are going to test some more shots, because you need to know, right, when you're playing, if you're in the wind, can you hit it low? Can you hit a medium? And well, we know it goes high, but I really want to just put these to the test properly, so you've got an educated decision on whether you should maybe think about trying these, popping them in the bag. So the 8-iron to sand wedge sets the center of gravity right where you strike the golf ball. Now, for a club golfer, this is going to give you more consistent performance and enhanced forgiveness. I actually like the idea of this because I feel it will play more like a muscle back iron in those shorter clubs where you don't necessarily need that massive amount of forgiveness. Now, I'm not saying they're not forgiving, but I feel like it sort of goes down that way to where it's going to play more like a normal iron. Now, if we look at the sort of longer end of the bag, the 4-iron to 7-iron, they have sort of this main frame, which is essentially like a system of channels and cavities milled into the backside of this golf club to maximize flexor impact, giving you a better chance of more ball speed, more consistency, and more forgiveness. And look, you can see that here, this here, and I like that. We've got a difference of how that club looks and plays in the shorter stuff to the longer stuff. And I don't feel like, I guess, super forgiving irons in the past have had that. They just sort of plonked it on and said, this is what it is for everything. Okay, we're gonna hit 3 away here. Let's go low, let's go medium, let's go high. But so far, what do you actually think of these irons? Because I really like them. Now, I don't think I've missed the green yet. So let's hit that low one first. Here we go, ball back of the stance. See if this can launch a low one in there. That really just came off like an absolute rocket. That's gone over the back of the green, that. I went 145 on the fly, but because it sort of scooted on a little bit, it bounced off. But that was a super, super good shot. So that sound there, again, I'm really impressed with this sound. It doesn't sound like a chunky iron. It really does sound like a really premium iron. Now, that feel off the club face felt firmer there. Now, whether that was just because I struck it better, but I was surprised that I managed to keep that one low. with these irons I've tried in the past, they've just gone super high regardless, because that's what they're designed to do. Okay, let's try and play a medium one now. I really want to be testing these. I really want to get these right for you. Look at that one fly. Look at that. I really feel I've got control with these irons. And that's just a compliment. Well, again, we'll show you where that one just finished. And again, that's a compliment to Cleveland. I just wish it was a slightly smaller head. That's a real bugbear right now. Right, okay, I'm gonna play a really high one now. Really high one. Here we go. Look at that climb. Look at that climb that's coming down with snow on it. Great shot again though. Really good shot, really good control. Just on the left edge, but the wind was really getting that one. So that last shot there, 147, are pretty much where I would expect them all to go, that 145 to 155 range. And every one of them have been round there. So if we're looking in terms of consistency, there's not one that has just fired off and gone too far where it's like, wow, that's out of control. I feel like I was able to hit high, able to hit low, able to control my ball flight with these irons. And I'm pleasantly surprised at the sound. But okay, let's go and see where they all finished. Let's go back down to the green. I've just been thinking this walking down here. More people are definitely going to buy this just because of the way it looks. It just looks more premium. They got rid of those blues, got rid of those blacks, and I think they probably just listened to what maybe other brands have done, maybe what people have said. I don't get why brands do those blues, do those blacks. It gives it that sort of cheaper look compared to this. So I do have a few bugbears, as I say, and we don't want a you being frame moment, so I will be watching out for this rope in a second. It's that size. That it just looks, I know it's an extra large head, so it's hard for me to critique that, but it's just massive. One thing I didn't show you is this chunky back ridge here. So you can see here, the sole of this club is fairly big. And the positive about that is you get all that forgiveness, all that technology, but when you do place it down behind the ball, you don't see that. You don't get that look because that top edge is pleasantly okay in its size. Right, let's go and see where they all are. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 at the back, 5 just over here. Then I think if I just go over the back here, yes, it's here. I knew it went a little long. It pitched on the green, but went a little bit through the back. But that, for consistency, is what you want as a club golfer, especially when you've got a 7-iron. A great measure of a club golfer is being able to hit a par 3 green. If you've got an iron that's going to help you do that, help you control it, what do you think? Or will you be having a look at these further this year? Cleveland Launcher XL iron, very, very good option. That is a little bit cheaper. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got so much coming up for you. I'm absolutely buzzing to show it you.